Welcome to the Alertus webinar series. My name is Sharice Ruan, Marketing Specialist at Alertus Technologies. During this presentation, Ryan Kelly, Regional Account Manager, and Saif Ibrahim, Sales Engineer, will provide insight on Alertus Desktop Notification Solution and how you can use it to effectively reach your users. Feel free to submit your questions during the webinar at any time, and they will be addressed during the Q&A session at the end of this presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared with you after today's session. If you have any questions after this presentation, please email marketing@alertus.com. Now I'd like to turn it over to Ryan and Saif.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks again for joining. My name is Ryan Kelly, and I'm with our sales engineer, Saif Ibrahim. I'm a regional account manager here at Alertus, and just want to go through a quick overview of what we're going to discuss today. So we've gotten introductions out of the way, and overall, we want to just tell you a little bit more about Alertus before we get into the desktop takeover. We see a lot of challenges with across emergency notification with colleges, K through 12, corporate, whatever industry you're calling in from today or listening in. We're going to try to tackle some of the things that we can help to provide that emergency notification services. We're obviously going to get into the desktop notification. We're going to touch on our Chromebook notification as well, which is a new feature we've recently launched. We'll have a live demonstration today, a live activation, and then obviously Q&A at the end. So bear with us, and we'll get you through it. So to get started, for anybody who's not familiar with Alertus Technologies, we are based out of Washington, D.C., here in right outside D.C. in Maryland, founded in 2002. We're an emergency notification system, and what we focus on is facility-based, high-occupancy notification for universities, K through 12, military, government. Basically, anybody who's looking for mass notification is somebody that we're targeting and working with. We started back in 2002 out of the University of Maryland. Our CEO and several of his colleagues were at the university at the time. A tornado came through, unfortunately killed 2 students who were not notified of the incident. So that's kind of where Alertus was founded on. How can we get notification when maybe cell phones, maybe certain instances don't require have notification present. So that's where we focus on, is the facility-based notification. And that's kind of just taking us to, what is mass notification? Mass notification in general is just, a way to disseminate alerts and broadcast alerts out to public. As I mentioned, Alertus focuses on facility notification. So ultimately, it's a comprehensive emergency alerting solution, notifies individuals across the facilities using different modalities. We're going to get into some of those modalities. We're also going to touch on the desktop takeover. It's a little different than personal notification. It's a little more popular, especially across our higher education and K through 12 markets, but using text, email, and phone calls is also very important. But obviously, as I mentioned, we're going to continue to stick with the facility side of notification. So a couple things that we want to discuss when we are looking at a potential site, a potential customer, an existing customer. How do you get a notification out? These are some things to think about, when you're looking at alerting, is view some of those endpoints that you already have. Obviously, desktops and laptops, Chromebooks, those are going to be important. And we're going to get into some of the ways that we can try to disseminate those alerts out to those endpoints. But obviously, there's a lot of different technologies, a lot of different facility-based modalities that you can use as well. How long does it take? That's another thing to think about when you're looking at an emergency plan. Most organizations have a text and email system in place. Some are using their website. Hopefully you're using social media as well. How long is that taking? 30 minutes might seem like a lot of time, but when you have different modalities, you have different silos and everything is in different logins, that's when we want to help you. Is we want to make sure that everything's tied in together. We want to make sure everything is coming from a single point of activation. So just think of that as you continue forward and look at some of your emergency plans. Some other key drivers in mass notification and some of the things that we focus on here at Alertus as well is trying to tackle some of the challenges that you'll see on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis. So personal notification, as I mentioned before, is very important, but there are some challenges when you're dealing with just notification on a personal level rather than focusing on a complete system of facility-based and personal notification. Some of the challenges we see locations with no way to be notified, buildings not being staffed 24/7, special needs individuals, loud environments, cell phones not allowed, especially in the classrooms, difficulty reaching visitors and contractors as well. Some of the notification mandates and some of the codes you'll see there on the left. ADA compliance is huge. Clery Act. These are just some of the things that we're going to see and touch on. Again, think of these things as you make your emergency notification plan, as you guys are starting to look across the board at some of the ways you can help improve your existing plan. Think of some of the codes that you have, but then also think about some of the challenges that you're facing. So as I mentioned before, the Alertus solution is going to be focusing on that facility-based notification. And the first thing that we look at when we look at a new customer, an existing customer, is we're looking for components and modalities that we can tie in and leverage. Audible notification is very important. Obviously, with Audible, you can get a tone, you can get a text-to-speech or a voice out to those existing technologies. We want to make sure that people can also hear that notification, if it comes across a text or comes across an email. Visual notification is important as well, being able to target people through, obviously something that they can see. And then education and engagement. When an alert goes out, do people know where they need to go? Do they know what to do? And that's what we're going to try to, accomplish, is help engage people and get people to move in a certain direction when an alert goes out. So the Alertus solution is ultimately it's quite simple. Again, we want to make sure that when an alert goes out, when an emergency happens, a crisis communication team is prepared. Ultimately, a single point of activation is going to be the most important key for us. So again, think of some of the challenges you have. Think about some of the things that are already in place. Everything, again, could be in different silos. It takes a lot of time. We're trying to make it from a single point of activation to have that alert go off within seconds. Layering the notifications, again, indoor, outdoor, personal. We don't want to discount anything. We want to make sure that everything goes off and from a wide range of different modalities. Again, balancing audible and visual. I've mentioned that in the previous slide, and then that also ties into integrating those existing assets. Think of the technology that your institutions have spent millions of dollars on. Let's utilize that. And then at the end of the day, filling in gaps. We're trying to make it easier for you to get people notified, but also we want to make sure that we're targeting different areas that might have some challenges. So this is just a comprehensive overview slide of the Alertus solutions. For anybody who is not familiar with all the products, feel free to ask us at the end of the webinar in the Q&A section. But for the most part, we're going to just stick with the Alertus desktop today. But we're happy to answer any other questions you might have on anything else. So the bread and butter of the webinar, we're going to touch on the Alertus desktop notification. So ultimately, what the desktop notification is, it's a software that we can have in your server, in your system, to get a truly full screen alert out to any individual who's sitting at their computer or their desktop. So there's a lot of different options here. We're just going to stick with the basic one, which is the full screen takeover. It's compatible with both PCs and Mac, and obviously with the addition to the Chromebook at the end, we'll get into. It's obviously it's going to be software based, and we can activate this through the Alertus activation software and the Alertus console. For anybody who's already using an existing system, such as a text and email company, a third-party recipient, we have a lot of integrations, and we do have the ability to tie these alerts back into those systems as well. So feel free to ask us at the Q&A. The main ones that you're going to hear, especially on the higher ed side, Everbridge, Rave, Regroup, Blackboard, Connect. Those are just some of the main ones that I hear on a day-to-day basis. But if you have any that you're not familiar with, feel free to ask us at the end. So as I mentioned, the full screen alert is awesome, but the good thing with the desktop takeover is it's fully customizable. So that full screen alert, we do have the ability to customize the text, logo, behavior. We have the ability to brand it to your institution's brand. It's also cross-platform. I mentioned Windows and Mac. It's very easy to install. It's compatible with a lot of different tools that you can leverage internally with your network engineers. Localization, so again, we can use different groupings and IP subnets names to define where these alerts are being sent. So the good thing is you can do an all campus or an all system alert, or you can do a specific group of people, groups of buildings, etc. It's non-invasive, so it's going to run in the background with minimal network traffic. And then the great part, we have complete auditing and reporting. So obviously, if an alert goes off, we can show you how long it takes to acknowledge that alert from the user end. And also, if a alert is not sent, we can show you how long it takes for these devices to check in on a day-to-day, on a minute-by-minute interval, second-by-second interval. I mentioned a couple customizable features. So the full screen alert is awesome, but not every alert should be treated the same. If you have a weather incident, it's going to be a little different than an active shooter. So we have different display modes that you see here. The one on the left is a quarter or partial screen. You can, again, customize these based on branding as well. You can change the colors and fonts. And then on the right, you'll see a scrolling ticker notification. Great for weather alerts, as you see there at the top. Continuing on with some of the customization features, images can also be embedded into the desktop alerting as well. So the images you can see there at the bottom, these are pre-canned images that we can provide you. We can also create and add in logos or pictures of your facility as well. Audio notification is embedded as well. So we can either do a text-to-speech functionality or even just a WAV file to have a pre-canned alert go off automatically. So again, these are just options. They're all available, and you do have the ability to tinker with it as you like. Some additional features that are included in the desktop takeover, a little bit more on the back end. User restrictions. So every university we talk to, every company that we talk to, they're going to have certain admins who are going to have complete control, but you're also going to have certain people who you want to just activate their building or their group of people. And with this, you can create different users and user restrictions to grant access. Map interface is included in this, so you can create different diagrams and different looks with the map feature, be able to activate certain buildings or certain groups of people. Threat Watcher, we have an integration with NOAA, General Cap Alert, as well as AccuWeather. And then outbound distributed recipient outcall. Ultimately, we can utilize the Alertus console as a one-step activation for your third-party recipients. So I mentioned earlier the ability to have a text and email company activate from their system. We can do it vice versa. We can activate other modalities and other recipients from the activation console as well. So obviously the desktop alerting is great. It's pretty simple to understand. You have a lot of customized features, but we do have the ability to really enhance that process. And some of the other things that are available with the desktop notification is our Alertus Desktop Activator. So what ultimately this is, it's a desktop software panic button and a USB panic button that can be added on that ultimately gives that user that's sitting at that desk the ability to notify campus police, security group, whoever you deem wants to receive that alert on a security level. So it sits on the background, very similar to the desktop takeover. It sits on the background and can be activated through hotkeys, icons on the desktop tray. A lot of different options there, but ultimately the desktop panic button can receive an alert back to campus safety or back to security people. On the other side, you have the USB panic button, as you see in the bottom right. This is just an additional add-on feature that's available. Tied into that desktop software panic button, we have the ability to customize these alerts to have a quick trigger back to your security and dispatch team. So think of this as ultimately like a bank teller having a button on the bottom of their desk to initiate a panic back to a police station. Very similar, we can customize that event trigger to go wherever you'd like. For our higher ed listeners and our K through 12 listeners today, we do have some free versions of our desktop takeover that are available at no additional cost for your institution. So reach out to us at the end if you think you're interested. But ultimately, we have a free version of our desktop takeover. It's a full screen alert. There are some limitations that are not available with the free version that are not included compared to the enhanced features that we went through earlier. But this is ultimately a free version of our desktop takeover that can upload to a full screen alert. Again, available with PCs and Macs as well as laptops. And again, these are going to be available with the same updates that you'll receive with the Premier version. So obviously with I've gone through a few of the desktop features and some of the available features. I just went through the software for the free version. The paid version is also going to be the next step for anybody who's interested in coming on board with Alertus. So the Alertus desktop notification, I've just gone through that a little bit with the customizable features. The free version also includes the full screen alert, but the Premier version includes the ticker mode and the quarter screen. The mobile app, digital signage override, Chromebook notification that we'll get into, as well as the desktop panic button. These are all available features that are included at unlimited licensing with the enhanced notification service and support license. If you have any questions on this software and this package, this is basically just that upgrade from the free version for all of our clients, and we're happy to answer any questions at the end. So just kind of going on to something new for Alertus. We haven't had this in the past. I've been working here for 3 years, and the Alertus Chromebook is definitely something we've heard a lot of buzz about in the past. And ultimately, this is going to be very similar to the desktop takeover for the PC and Mac, but the Chromebook notification works with a simple pop-up that will work in the quarter screen of the Chromebook. You do have the ability to click into the Chromebook notification to enhance that pop-up. But again, this is very similar to the desktop takeover in the sense that it's customizable, and it's a truly engaging way to have faculty members and students receive that alert if they're using Chromebooks in a classroom setting. A couple key features with the Chromebook. Again, very similar to the desktop takeover, but you can customize the behavior, the logo, the look, ultimately the concept of the context menu of the Chromebook notification. No software download required for the Chromebook, and it's very easy to subscribe and unsubscribe for your end users as well. Similar again to the other software platforms I already discussed, it runs in the background with minimal traffic and expanded reach. We could take the Alertus Chromebook notification on the go. You can use this for basically anywhere you'd like on your campus or even outside. So at this point, we want to show you a quick activation. So we're going to pause the screen real quick, and we'll be able to show you a live recording of our webcam.
Device name North Lobby initiated a panic button activation at 12:25 and 5 seconds. Device is located at security desk. Device name North Lobby initiated a panic button activation at.
So that's obviously a little loud and obnoxious, but hopefully you were able to see a quick overview of what that looks like. In the bottom right was the desktop takeover. That sound that you heard was our alert beacon, which is again a couple other proprietary products that we can provide. But ultimately the desktop notification is going to be able to take over that full screen as you see. You also have a quick ticker mode for certain devices and certain incidences as well. So at this point, that just sums up what our desktop notification is, and some of the additional features that we have with the Alertus console and some of the customizable features we have. So I guess at this point we'll open it back up to Charisse and Safe for any Q&A.
All right. Thank you both. We are now beginning the Q&A session of our presentation. If you have a question, please submit them through the chat or question box. Please note if we do not get to your question during this session, a representative will reach out to you to answer your question directly. A recording of this webinar will also be shared with you after today's presentation. Now let's begin with our first question. Can the police department be included to receive a notification when the system is activated?
Yeah, so we get this question a lot. I'll give you an example of some of our universities that have on-campus university police or college. There's a presence of local police there, and they partner with them. Typically, they're included in scope for notification. If you have that type of relationship with your local police and they're okay with putting a desktop or an alert beacon there, there's absolutely no reason why you couldn't extend notification to those personnel.
Thank you. Are the contact records in, say, Everbridge linked to the desktop app installed on someone's desktop?
No. So our system addresses and activates devices on a device level. We're not user dependent, or we don't store contact information. But with our integration with Everbridge, you could target and map Alertus groups of devices and call them out on a per alert basis.
Will it alert desktops logged in via VPN?
Sure. As long as, so we do a pull, the client uses the host name of the server to reference, where to check in. As long as through that VPN connection, the client can reach the server using that mechanism, then that's completely supported.
Okay. Can we tie Alertus to a fire panel so that the fire panel triggers the appropriate message to be broadcasted?
It's possible. I think engaging your fire panel technician or whoever administers that system is step one. But we do have customers that do that, and vice versa, using the fire panel as a trigger to activate other communication channels through Alertus.
Can users choose to opt out of specific kinds of messages, such as alerts versus warnings?
Depending on the modality, like I mentioned before, since we address and activate on device level, it really doesn't matter what the user says. With our Alertus mobile app and subscription-based grouping, they kind of have that ability to opt out if they'd like, or just not subscribe to that group, I should say.
Okay. Does Alertus link to Environment Canada and other provincial weather sites for weather alerts?
So with NOAA or National Weather Service, we use their API. However, ThreatWatcher allows for input of different URLs for CAP alerting or RSS or other syndication feeds. We have a large presence in Canada. I'm fairly certain that at least one of them is doing weather alerting. So as long as your provider can give you a URL for your server to poll for updated events, then absolutely.
Okay. I believe this question is, do we support Cisco Phones with Skinny protocol?
Yes. So we do have a relatively long list of supported phone models with Cisco specifically. All of them are SCCP or Skinny, and you can have them in SIP as well. But the first place to start is our Cisco questionnaire, and we can go from there.
For group-based alerts, can we use Microsoft Active Directory groups?
Yes, both user and machine groups. We can map groups, OUs, CNs, and you can map up to 5 different domains as well.
Okay. Can the USB panic buttons have multiple messages connected to it?
The panic button, no. You can have one defined behavior per button. You could have multiple buttons per machine, and you can configure multiple alerts to activate from that machine. So if it's not a button, then desktop icon or keystroke, you can have multiple configurations of that. Okay.
I have a question about interfacing with Ad Hoc.
Okay.
Do we interface with it?
Yeah, we do. I can't think of the specifics off the top of my head. I think it's from Ad Hoc to Alertus, and I believe we leverage a standard method like RSS or CAP.
And another vendor question, can Alertus be configured to activate through Rave?
Yeah, so Rave uses one of the Alertus's APIs, and very similar to Everbridge, you can select Alertus groups, you can select what we call a profile, which is how the notification gets sent out and how those devices behave. But a very dynamic integration available there.
Can their existing cameras be integrated to scan to the point of activation in the case of a panic button push?
It's certainly possible. We have one use case of that, and by use of relay and dry contact, and obviously, configuration in that system, the customer was able to satisfy that requirement.
Can the USB panic button be used without the desktop alert software installed on the PC?
It can, but you would still need the desktop Activator software. Ultimately, that button is just a button, and we tie it to the software behind the scenes or installed on that machine.
Is third-party integration included with the free version?
The SOAP API is available, so if you have Rave or Everbridge, that's included with the free version. Blackboard Connect is included from Blackboard. These are all from those systems to Alertus. A lot of these systems, we have two-way integrations. But yeah, in some cases, yes.
Okay, thank you. Is this software generally maintained by IT staff, or is it easy enough for non-IT staff?
For maintenance and administration, typically it's a IT system administrator. We do include utilities that keep things kind of low maintenance or turnkey. They can send emails. These utilities will send emails if there are system errors or issues with devices or whatever else. So after initial implementation, generally speaking, it's the application owner or emergency manager that kind of maintains the system. But outside of general interface, the more technical side is typically assigned to those technical folks.
Can this system be tied to an RF signal callback system and an existing overhead PA system?
So overhead PA, I'll say comfortably yes. What was the other one? RF signal callbacks. As with most integrations, we do a lot of discovery. I think we've been successful in the past with callback systems. So really, it depends on capabilities and if it's been done or what we have available to us.
The clients auto-configure themselves to find a server. This is a network broadcast. Once the clients have found the server, how chatty are they in maintaining that connection?
So that's from the beginning. That's not the way the clients work. We don't do any broadcast. So there's a config file associated with the client. It must be there when you install, and in that config file calls the DNS host name of the server. So something like Alertus at alertus.yourorg.com or something like that. So initially, the clients already know where to look. That polling interval for the software clients is configurable by default. It's dynamically adjusted based on server performance, meaning if you're utilizing a lot of resource, then the server is going to slow down that communication. So minimum is 20 seconds by default. You can again statically assign a lower number. We don't recommend anything less than 10 seconds for larger deployments. The other thing to mention is that the clients are independent of each other and really even of the server. If the server's not there or can't communicate, it's going to continue to do that check-in, and it's low bandwidth utilization. So the payload is about 1K per check-in, 1 kilobyte, and if there's an active alert, you can bump it up to 3K. But since it depends on when the client was installed or the user logged in or when the machine was turned on, they're not all checking in at once. They're not all using that much bandwidth or payload at once. So it helps to keep less reliant on larger scale networks.
Okay. Can the desktop virtual button have customized alerts?
Absolutely. The desktop virtual button is made to be applicable in any environment based on what your alerting needs are. So all we do is activate a template that you've created in the application. And furthermore, you can uniquely define that access on a per workstation basis. So maybe some users have access to specific alerts where, other users have maybe more elevated access.
To avoid false alarms and warnings, are there fail-safes, like a series of steps to follow before activating the system?
So we do have a confirmation page, so to speak. A lot of this, I think, is more philosophical in that, our system is completely customizable, and typically implementation is done to align with your requirements, your policy, your procedure. So if there are fail-safes that are required associated with those procedures, then we'll look to align with those.
Okay. Students bring their own devices, typically iOS or Android. Is software download required is the software download required on the device?
For iOS and Android, yes. They have to go to those respective app stores or Play stores and download. That's for Alertus Mobile. And again, for desktop alerting, you do have to install the client. For Google Chrome, you have to subscribe to the web push link. But generally speaking, we have several different methods of supported deployment. We have some customers for mobile that they do kind of a marketing promo. They send out flyers with codes and how to sign up, associate with your org. Desktop deployment is probably going to be managed by your desktop teams, where we have some customers that put it in their emergency management website. The users can download and install, and it's very simple instructions. So, yeah.
Is there an additional fee for Rave integration with Alertus?
So from Alertus to Rave, that is included with our enhanced licensing, not the desktop donation. From Rave to Alertus, with the desktop donation, it's included. Same thing with ENS. You would want to engage Rave to see if there's any fees associated there.
Okay. Can the client be installed through SCCM? What about Mac machines?
SCCM is definitely supported. GPO. We're also supporting image-based, like VDI or deep freeze, or just your standard image deployments. We have a Mac client as well, and that is supported with your ARD or whatever Apple deployment utilities you might use.
Okay, we have time for one more question. Is there a limit to the number of predefined messages that can be stored in the system?
No.
Okay, thank you. We have now concluded our Q&A session of our presentation. Again, if we did not get to your question, we will directly reach out to you with an answer. If you have any questions or need additional information, please feel free to email marketing@alertus.com, and we will be happy to assist you. If you are looking for more information on Alertus and our solutions, visit our website, www.alertus.com. If you are interested in upcoming webinars, please visit alertus.com/webinars to see the full schedule. Thank you for joining today's webinar, and we look forward to meeting you again soon.